high-tech oils, available from Auto One, Sprint Auto Parts, and all leading independent auto stores.
The IROC Challenge Series is something that was conceived to get classic Porsches back out of garages and perhaps also encourage some club guys to get into it without having to spend the time and the money to go at a higher Porsche level like GT3 Cup Challenge or perhaps even Carrera Cup.
Sven Burkhardt is no stranger to the track or the iconic German brand.
Yeah, I started competing in the Porsche Club of Victoria in 1997 and did that for about 8 years, and then in 2005 I started with the Australian GT Series. In 2006, won their Endurance Championship. 2007, won the Porsche Drivers Challenge. And in 2008, I did a deal with Porsche Cars Australia, and we resurrected or started the GT3 Cup Challenge. I mean, I'm a tragic. I can't see myself driving anything else. My heart's always with Porsche.
Porsche has a great history in Australian motorsport dating back to the 60s and 70s. What cars can we expect to see in the IROC Series?
The IROC Challenge is built to a specification, so it's a wide body with a larger tail that is modelled, as I said, on the 1975 IROC. And it doesn't matter if it's a 1974 car made to look like one or a 1989 car. All of them are able to be adapted quite easily with a little bit of time and effort. This year's a formation year, I think. Hopefully by the end of the year we'll have sort of 12, maybe 14 cars, and next year it'll go on, and then we're convinced that you'll see it for what it is, which is just great fun.
It's a brand new category for the Shannons Australian Motor Racing Nationals, and it's called the IROC Challenge, bringing back the great Porsches of yesteryear and with a bit of a nod of the hat to the IROC International Race of Champions we saw in the United States in 73-74. More on that later. This is what happened in Race 2 after a win in Race 1. Rowan Little and Sven Boykarts battled into Turn 1. Little in the silver car, Sven Boykarts in the orange, Greg Keane just behind in that white IROC Series Porsche. Cool cars though, these, Matt Nolte, aren't they?
Going back in time as we ride aboard of the 8 machine of Greg Keane, who's raced every Porsche you could think of over the years.
Awesome sound of the flat 6, 3.6 litre flat 6. So Keane and Little battle for the race lead. Really entertaining race as they swapped and ducked around with some position changes. Behind them, Sven Boykarts and Rory O'Neill, Graham Cook too, the Adelaidean. This is something of a spin-off of Touring Car Masters where we've seen these Porsches racing, but a specific specification for IROC Challenge. Keane slowed a little bit coming out of the final corner. Was wrapped up by Boykarts on the start-finish straight. And Sven, a former Porsche champion, had a really good race and closed in on Rowan Little as they raced to the checkered flag, which brings us to Race 3, the opening round. It's a small grid, but you've got to start somewhere, and I think when people see these cars race, see how good they look and how cool they sound, it's going to be a lot of fun in the future.
Yeah, results of the previous race from earlier today. So Little and Boykarts will be on the front row, Keane and O'Neill on the second row, and Graham Cook on the third row. Rolling starts, which is unique to this championship, but they're used to doing it on the back of the TCM rounds.
So side by side, it's Sven Boykarts, the inaugural winner of the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Australia, who leads them down. Big brake lock up. Greg Keane just gets it stopped and turned into Turn 1. So long-time Porsche racer, TCM, before that Porsche Cup. And down the inside goes Feddo Adelaidean, Cookie. Just got it stopped and turned in. A couple of South Australians with a bit of almost friendly fire.
I've got to say, they've kept the liveries too, which I like. Those familiar stripes down the bonnet of these Porsches as they head down through Turn 5. On board with Cook as he sweeps his way around here. The 90 machine of Sven Boykarts leads us up to the top. He's running second at the moment. Little low in the 17 machine.
And Rowan Little out of TCM competition, Victorian driver from the state's southeast. He's a very, very fast driver. To show how quick these cars are, his pole time for this round would have qualified him in the top 10 for the TCM round that was here just a month and a half ago against all the Mustangs and Camaros. These things are not hanging around. Properly fast racing cars. But it harks back to the International Race of Champions held in 73-74 in the United States, where 12 of the world's best drivers went wheel to wheel in identical Porsche 911 RSs. And it was won by the great Mark Donoghue, Penske Racing driver, but in the field, some amazing names. It's an incredible thing. This harks back to that. The car will run in the original colours, so the orange, the silver. There's a car called the colour of aubergine that will make its appearance later this year. I'm looking forward to seeing that. There's 4 more cars very close to being finished, so 10 to 15 cars by the end of the season is the aim for year 1 of IROC Challenge. But exciting future. Let's have a listen. Great sounding cars, aren't they? Boycart's leads into turn 3. There's Keane. Got another name on the rear window of that car because his wife, Amanda Sparks, will drive it at various points this season. So she's got the crew chief hat on this weekend, doing the tyre pressures and making sure Greg behaves himself, and then they'll swap roles at various rounds throughout the year.
So no plans for a second car as yet with these two?
Wouldn't surprise me. They're both pretty competitive.
Absolutely they
loves beating Greg too. It's happened.
Too often, he would say.
As Boycart's just under a bit of pressure from Keane, who runs a little bit wide through turn 7. This is a great 4-way fight between these 4. Graham Cook. Great synergies with the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge, which of course is a staple with the Shannons Nationals. Sven Boycart's won the first ever series for GT3 Cup Challenge. Graham Cook won the first ever round for GT3 Cup Challenge back at Malala in 2008. And they're both together in the same field at the start of a brand new one-make Porsche Championship. Really cool, funky little synergy that occurred there.
Back on board with Keane here. This is the battle for second, and now the battle for the lead from a long way back. So the number 8 now takes the race lead.
Sven was pretty kind to him there, didn't defend, but that was a great move. This car is beautiful. They're all really well presented, but this thing of Greg Keane's is immaculate. It should be in a showroom built by Stewie at Buick Motorworks. Really immaculate piece of racing machinery. Still a brand new car. A lot of development to go into it. Hasn't had some of the track testing that guys like Boycart's and Little have had running their cars in TCM in a couple of rounds under an invited class banner. But they're pretty fast and very, very capable drivers. Cook just in behind. We should mention Rory O'Neill in the field too. And Rob Black, unfortunately, had some engine dramas with his car earlier in the weekend and was forced to withdraw, but he was part of this field as well, putting on a great show in his blue IROC Challenge spec 911 RS.
It's only about 2 or 3 seconds covering the field, so the parity is good between these Porsches as they head up to the top section, turn 6 and 7, and around that world-famous gum tree. Here is Greg Keane with the IROC Challenge Series sponsorship on the car.
It's a classic look though, isn't it? The
cool
whale tail rear end, the fat rear guards over those really wide Hoosier rear tyres. And that sweet sound, it's not a bellow. I don't know really how to describe it. It's a different kind of Porsche sound. Quite deep and throaty roar that these cars produce. Let's have a listen. If we listen and watch, Boycart's vying for the lead down into turn 11. Keane gives him some racing room, but doesn't make it easy either. And still goes around the outside. He's making Sven work for this. And Sven retakes the lead, and now Rowan Little is going to have a go at Greg Keane. So slow entry into turn 12 might cost him here.
Cookie's going to sit back here and see what happens. We've seen too many cars get eaten up by turn 1 and 2 this weekend. Sits on the back here as we head towards the back half of this race.
Good run out of 2 for Little. Just having a look at Greg Keane, and Boycart's has just got a bit of a margin now. These cars running a bunch of control components to keep costs down, including the Hoosier tyre. We're on board with Keane.
It's good too if you want to look up and see who's travelling behind.
Exactly.
He doesn't want to be doing that right now. He's too busy committing to this sweeping left-hander. Just feathering the throttle as they head up to turn 5. We're watching Sven Boycart's and the field coming through here. This IROC Challenge race, the first round of a new championship here at Winton Motor Raceway as part of the 2015 Shannons Nationals.
And they're really at the point of if you build it, they will come. And there's more cars being built. There's 4 cars still under construction in South Australia, including one by Mark Poole. One of the great names of touring car racing, privateer battles in the 90s. So he's got a car underway. He's become something of a Porsche specialist. Stewie Elshaw's got a car under construction. There's a few more out of Victoria as well. It's going to be cool when there's a whole bunch of these on the racetrack. The racing's going to be intense. This has been a really good performance. Sven Boycart's, he's been a great champion of Porsche Motorsport in Australia. Porsche Cars Australia have got behind it, which is why they've got the nod of the hat on the windows with the Porsche Classic Racing banner. And that all-encompassing Porsche Motorsport with the tiers around the world, with GT3 Cup Challenge and Carrera Cup up to Super Cup. But Porsche so much embrace their heritage and their history as well, and this is all part of it. To go.
Love the way they've kept the look of these cars over the years. If you go back 20 years, this would have been the front half of Porsche Cup racing in the country. As down the inside, he tried Rowan Little and almost had his nose chopped off for it.
He had a big dive and Keane gave him just enough room to back out if he needed to. And Greg just very gentlemanly there, and he is a gentleman, just gave him some racing room, just enough racing room through turn 5 and get to turn in and stop. So good racing and good respect given. They just don't want to scratch these beautiful Porsches because they are absolutely stunning.
This guy's been good, hasn't he, all day long?
He's a really good racing car driver, Sven Boykarts. Massively underrated. Commercial lawyer from Melbourne, very successful in his chosen trade. Down into turn 10. Final lap of the first ever IROC Challenge round. What do you think? I like it. The racing's been good.
Yeah, as you said, a few more cars coming on in the next couple of rounds. It certainly will bolster this championship into the right-hander for the last time.
Sven Boykarts leads the way. He'll get the race win. Rowan Little with second place, but 2 wins earlier in the weekend will get the round. Greg Keane on the podium too. Checkered flag falls on the first ever round of the IROC Challenge Series. Boykarts wins the race. Rowan Little wins the round with Greg Keane third. Great debut for this series and big things to come in the future. There's Sven. Victorian wins. Fantastic result. Little second, but he gets the round victory here at Winton Motor Raceway. Greg Keane next. Graham Cook and Rory O'Neill rounding out the 5.
The competition between all the cars was very, very close. Looks like we're going to have fantastic racing in the future. The cars look great on the track and should be fun.
Well, that wraps us up the first round of the IROC Challenge. Looking forward to big things from them in the coming rounds of the Shannons Nationals. We're off to a break. Come back and join us soon.